Coming up next on the Channel 4 News Nightcast, as you've been hearing, a deadly earthquake touching lives from San Francisco to South Florida.
An investigation is underway into the deaths of a father and his son.
We continue our live coverage from the Kennedy Space Center.
And outrage over racist rock and roll. The Channel 4 News Nightcast is next.
This is WTVJ, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
John Hambrick, Susan Lichtman, Cliff Morrison, weather, Tony Segreto, sports, Yolanda Gaskins, entertainment. This is the Channel 4 News Nightcast.
Second base, so the Oakland A's take.
Tell you what, we're having an earthquake.
Good evening. That was a mild indication of what was to come this evening in San Francisco. The World Series game was postponed when a major earthquake rocked the San Francisco Bay Area, 6.9 on the Richter scale, big enough to cause widespread damage and to kill maybe as many as 40 people in one place alone. But much of the deadly quake is still being discovered.
50-foot section collapsed from the upper deck to the lower deck.
The quake lasted about 15 seconds. That's a long time for such major shaking, and a number of fires were quickly set off in San Francisco buildings. It hit during pre-game World Series activities at Candlestick Park. The stands were far from full at the time, but we understand there was little, if any, panic among those who were there, even though some injuries at the park have been reported. Many, including players' families, climbed down to the open field, where there was overt consoling and calming of fears.
I mean, it felt really weird, like a state of helplessness. Yeah, it felt real bad, and I still feel sick.
There's been a power failure, therefore the game will be postponed.
The big quake was centered near Santa Cruz along the peninsula south of San Francisco. It shook skyscrapers and other structures not only in San Francisco itself, but over a radius of more than 150 miles, including buildings in Sacramento and Fresno. No doubt you're wondering about the injuries and deaths. We don't know how many or how bad the injuries, but as we said, at least 7 deaths occurred, and this size quake is capable of causing many serious injuries and deaths. We'll just have to wait and see. Also, will there be more tremors?
We can expect to have aftershocks in the area. We have had at least 2 that have been felt pretty strongly in the area. With an earthquake of this size, we would expect to have aftershocks for the next several days.
As far as we know, only the Bay Bridge between San Francisco and Oakland suffered severe damage, but all Bay Area bridges are now closed for inspections just to make sure. Tony Segreto will have more on plans for the rest of the World Series later in this broadcast. Once again, the death toll does seem to be mounting. As we mentioned at the top of the program, maybe as many as 40 people killed in one place alone. We don't know too much more than that. As we have told you, the quake measured 6.9 on the Richter scale, a scale that measures the strength at the center of the earthquake. To put it in some perspective, the lowest quake ever recorded was -3 on the Richter scale. A magnitude 4 quake can cause moderate damage. A level 6 quake can produce severe damage, and a level 7 earthquake or thereabouts is considered major, with widespread and heavy damage likely. The highest quake ever recorded measured 8.9 on the Richter scale. The infamous San Francisco quake of 1906 measured 8.3. Every 1-point increase on that scale means the ground motion of the quake is 10 times stronger. Susan?
South Floridians with West Coast ties are very worried tonight, unable to get through to family and friends because phone lines are either down or literally jammed. One family says their worst worry is not the quake itself, but the many fires created by broken gas lines and fallen buildings.
They've had an incredibly severe drought for the last few years in California. Things are really dry. And just making sure that the fires and the gas leaks are kept under control so that the damage doesn't spread.
We are trying to establish communications with the West Coast at this time. As I said, those phone lines are jammed. We are monitoring all information coming out from the West Coast, from Northern California. And as information becomes available, we will bring it to you later on the Nightcast.